Hello, good morning, and welcome to Morning Coffee with Brigid. I'm Brigid Burke, and it is now the 22nd of November, 2024. And it is snowing out right now, actually. Good morning, Joanne. And, we'll wait and see everybody. Alex, good morning. Let a few people come on. We'll have a sip of coffee and wait and see who joins us. Good morning, Jenny. Jenny, not a great day for a walk, I think. It's snowing, it's cold, and I don't think it's going to get above 37. So, it's pouring out where you are, Joanne. Yeah, good morning, everyone. Yeah, it's snowing right now. It's finally, I think other places north of here got snow earlier, because I saw people on Facebook going, it's snowing, oh my god. And that was last night. That was more up by, Jenny says, yes, so true. It was, I think Rockaway and places north of here, where they had a lot of wildfires recently. So a lot of this rain and stuff has been really good because it's really at least getting rid of that threat. It's supposed to snow today. How much is supposed to really stick? It depends on, the ground is still kind of warm, but it is going to be down to almost freezing all day today. So that was what I was checking it out. So yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I know I was talking to my sister the other day. She's like, I'm really not ready for snow. And it's 45 here, too warm. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, where you are, it's warmer. Where we are, I don't know why it's colder in south of you in Jersey, but it is going to get down to, it's probably down to about, I don't know, I think I saw it was like 34 or 35. All depends on elevation, Jenny's saying, yeah. Well, of course, Joanne is pretty high up, because she's in New Hampshire. But you're right, the amount of snow is going to depend on elevation. And hello, Sam. Good morning / afternoon. I did just send you a message, Sam, so check that out. They are talking about snow for Thanksgiving. Yeah, what I saw for that was that there's going to be, there's a 30% chance of rain on Thanksgiving, but it looks like Black Friday, the day after, there's going to be snow. Hi, morning, friends. My fingers are frozen. Just down cardio. Okay. Just done cardio. Oh, okay. Okay, will do. Yeah, check out what I sent you, because I got your message, and just, we could, anyway, we'll figure that out. Good morning, Suda. Here we are. I was just kind of waiting to see who else would jump in, and it's very much, like I said, it's very gray morning. As you notice, I have to put the light on behind me because even though the sun is up technically, but it was still so dark in here that I was like, all right, I need another light source, and and that one was adequate. So today I got up. I had a really weird day yesterday because obviously I did the live stream in the morning. And then I had a reading for somebody at 11, which was fine. That was all fine and good. But there was a request from the person who I did the reading for whether or not I could do gift certificates for tarot readings. And I did them on Wix. Now, I don't know. She had told me she was having problems with the e-commerce side of Wix. Like she couldn't get to where she had to put her credit card in. I got to look at that and see what's going on with that this morning. I don't know if she was just hitting the wrong button or what. But, because I know, sometimes they'll have, there's, 2 buttons, and one's, buy now, and the other's another, I don't know, it's weird, and I think buy now is more meant for people who have a subscription, but that's not clear, and I just hate the fact that it's like that. It's just, if somebody doesn't have a subscription, give them an option to put their credit card in, so, anyway. I did create a gift card link on my site, and I kind of made it as a sub-page under Book Online. So if anybody wants to gift a reading to somebody, I can't get in at all. Well, Joanne, I think yours is a special problem because you had changed your password on another site, and then it just doesn't work. You know what I mean? I don't know. You'd have to try to figure out how to change your general Wix password, and then try it again. Some point, maybe we could even have a Zoom call and try to look at it together. I know I ended up doing that with Pat at one point when she was having a problem. We went over it together, and then if I can't figure it out, then I can go to Wix support and say, okay, this is the steps the person followed, and then this is what happened. Otherwise, they're just kind of well, we don't know what happened. So it's hard for me to help sort that out. But we can get in. I know we need to have a call about a couple of things anyway. So I think And I know you wanted to call me about the thing. And also, yeah, if you wanted to take the dream workshop, let me know tomorrow, because I think you said you had wanted to do that. And the thing is, I want to send a form to anybody who's taking it today so that you have something. And again, you don't have to, I can't get the worksheet or, okay, well, no, the worksheet I have to send to you. If you want to do it and you can't get in to sign up, well, actually, you shouldn't have to have an account for that. You should just be able to go in and click the thing and buy. You shouldn't have to sign into your account to do that. You should just be able to do that. So if you're not, I mean, you can just Venmo me. No, the one, oh, well, the Dream Workshop's not going to be on ISFM. Oh, you're talking about trying to get into the ISFM group. Yeah, you need a login for that. That's where you have to get the login straightened out. Actually, we should straighten that out if you're going to be on next semester also. So, yeah, we'll figure that out for the project. Oh, I sent the form to you though. I sent it to you, and I think I even sent it to you. I sent it in your email. I sent you a copy of the form in your email, so check your email so that you can get it. Because I emailed it to everybody just in case they were having problems with Wix. So, and I sent it just this week, so it's a new email. If not, I mean, let me know. I can just send it to you again via Facebook Messenger, and I don't know. I can't remember. I know I've sent you some things that way, and I feel like I sent you a document. Yeah, you can look there. It was attached to Max's lecture email, most recent. Yes. Yeah, right. Thank you, Alex. Yeah. The one when I posted about the final seminar, yeah, I actually posted it with the form. So, and then with the link to Max's lecture. Yeah, those were the ones that were there. So, but if you have trouble finding it in all those places, just let me know, Joanne, and I'll just send it to you via Messenger. But I feel like I might have already sent it to you via Messenger. But anyway, I can send it again. It's not a big deal. But the Dream Workshop's not going to be on ISFM. Obviously, that's going to be on Transition Life Coaching. So you can always do what you did with the others if you want, and just send me, and then I'll just add you to it and send you the link. So anyway, lots of little stuff. You'll look after this. Okay, yeah, we should. I know this there's a lot of catching up that we have to do today. There's really a wonderful aspect today, by the way, that I saw. I was watching, Steve Judd was on, he had this video called Window of Opportunity, and he might not leave the video up, but he had said that as of about 7:30 p.m. GMT, which would be about 2:30 in the afternoon here, till about 2:30 in the afternoon today, there is an aspect, and I want to say the sun is trine Pluto in Aquarius in Sagittarius. I don't know why it's problematic. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We should probably sit down and figure out what's going on. Yep, just watched that this morning. Good news. Yeah, so what Steve Judd had said was that if you this is an unusually good morning, Melissa. This is an unusually auspicious day, like I said, if you're in the USA on the East Coast, up to about 2:30. Oh no, that's okay, Melissa. We're just kind of getting into things, just sorting business out here. It's the sun is trine, and so this is actually an exceptional time to plant the seeds for the future. So if there's something you have been aiming for, a goal that you have, or some kind of a outcome you want to see in the world, like now is the time. He says you don't have to say it out loud. You just got to think it to yourself. He says, and start the seeds of manifestation for that. Like aim yourself where you want to go. And that this is a good time to plant those seeds, because this is apparently the last time, I forget the last time we had this aspect. It was like 200 and something years ago. It's a very, very unusual aspect, and probably the last time Pluto was in Aquarius. But that it was the sun in Sagittarius is trine Pluto in Aquarius. So it's absolutely, Sagittarius is Jupiter energy. It's expansive. Pluto in Aquarius. That is, of course, Aquarius is humanitarianism. It's 11th house. It's about expansion, and so it's a really, and with Pluto there, this is about very intensely digging in, doing that work. Pluto can be the power behind something as well. Pluto also has to do with wealth and treasure and things. So it has to do with the seeds that we plant that eventually can grow as well. So just, you'll set yourself a little intention this morning for next year. I got another message this morning, too. Very unusual. I was doing as usual, I get up and I kind of go through the rigmarole of who's got messages for me today. And today Azrael did, but then there was another one of the angelic spirits called Vasaria, who actually wanted, which was I was like, okay, not one of the angels I would, not one of the main ones that tends to roll off the tongue, right? But weirdly, I happened to look her up, and she's the moral guardian for today, which is kind of interesting, for November the 22nd. And she said, with respect to the collective, what she said was, you want to try to stay away from despair and anger about anything that's going on, because that despair and anger is actually, stalling or feeding what she's calling kind of the other side. Like, it's stalling that lingering toxic masculine energy. It's like fueling that. The more fear that you have, the more anger that you have, and the more hate that we generate, that's actually fueling a lot of negativity. So she says make sure you remain in the way she put it was like in beauty, and I forget what the other word she used was, but it was just like, remain in a space where you are looking towards things with optimism and with towards working towards your goals. Because she says you don't want to use that energy to feed. Because remember, we had said this, we're supposed to be coming into a time of harmony. Oh wow! I actually got that message last night, and I had a pep talk with a close friend, and had to have a pep talk with a close friend about that. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so Alex, so you got that message too. Yeah. And I guess, they kind of said it at the beginning as well. I've seen this message coming in even from Azrael in different places, but she specifically said, focus on the things that are beautiful. Focus on what makes you happy. Focus on what you have gratitude for. Focus on that. She goes, because the thing is, these other things, it's not that these other things aren't there and that our feelings about them aren't valid. And Jenny said, I had that conversation with another friend yesterday. Yeah, it seems to be a thing. That staying in that space is what's going to... it's going to precipitate the change that we want. And Joanne has certainly said many times, you have to be the change you want to see in the world, right? I know you've said that too. There's not a difference between in or outer. Humor me for a second. Does Sarah? Okay, I figured maybe there's more to that. Does Azrael have a sister? Well, it is. The angelic realm is huge. There's all kinds of angelic beings. Azrael happens to be an archangel. I think Vasaria is a dominion, what they call a dominion. There's thrones, there's dominions, there's cherubim, there's seraphim, there's the Ophanim might be the thrones, they're the same thing as that. And then there's other ranks of angels and so forth, and of different, there's a ton of them. So I don't think she's a sister. Well, actually, it's funny. Azrael kind of calls everybody sister or brother or whatever. So I don't know. It's kind of, he'll even sometimes, they refer to me as sometimes he refers to me as daughter, actually. But it's kind of like, there's this thing. Does her name start with a B or a V? It starts with a V. Vasaria. And it's and my cards were trying to tell me this morning, and I didn't understand. It makes sense now. Okay, so everybody here's been getting that message. So good. Now everybody can validate each other. But yes, the name starts with a V. I don't have it. I want to say it's Vasariah, as I think the way that you spell it. I think that's correct. And it's, so she popped, that was unusual when I was like, oh, there's another angel who wants to talk, okay. But that was completely on my radar. But basically what she was saying is that, you want to, and I think she's connected a lot with justice and with fairness. That seems to be her association. So she said, in order to have that, you need to be operating from that space. Regardless of how you feel about the external world, you want to be operating from that space of balance and of love. And I know it's kind of hard to feel it, but then it's like, okay, so if it's hard to feel it based on certain things, then we need to focus on the things that make us feel that. Like, because we can turn our attention wherever we want. So those are the things we want to focus on. Not so much, again, on trying to necessarily control outcomes, but just say, either these are the things that I have, and these are the things that while I'm working towards these things, this is where my happiness is, or this is where I feel love. And you have to recognize that everyone around you is not going to feel that way. But I think the more that we stay in that kind of a space, the more that it kind of infects others, just like the other way can infect others too. And so I think there's been kind of a clearing for a lot of people of these emotions. I know I've been going through last week like this clearing of these emotions. Joanne says, well, that famous law school is named Vassar. Yeah, well, yeah, this is a little different though. It's well, that's true. Okay, right. I think you're saying yeah, but although Vassar might be named after a person, but yeah, I don't know. This is a name that I was not familiar with, but yeah, I can see the similarity there. Might be a good way to remember it too. But that's, I always think of Rhea at the end because I was trying to figure out how to say it, and I'm thinking of Rhea, the spouse of Kronos. So so sister spouse of Kronos. So that message came through very strongly today to focus on, I can't remember the other word that she used, but basically it's like focus on what's beautiful, focus on, what, kind of like what makes your heart sing, rather than focusing on, everything is terrible. Even if we understand that and that doesn't mean stuffing down and being ashamed of negative emotions either. I'm not a fan of that, but we have to recognize that's why I think we say let's channel that into something else, but then say, okay, well, I'm going to focus my energy on what it is I want to see, where I want to go. So that came up very strongly today. Now the other thing that came up for me the other day, I was answering yesterday. Okay. Let's see. Absolutely. I felt that purging, then a reawakening of things I truly enjoy and stretches my creativity. Yes, exactly. Yeah, well, that's it. Right. And I think we've all been going through that because I think even Jenny and I had this conversation the other day because I called her. I was like, man, it feels really like, well, the energy, not yesterday, but the day before was like really heavy. And she's like, yeah, I know what you mean. So yeah. So you're saying balance. Okay. So it was, yesterday, by the way, I had a brutal headache after I did this reading. I think that's where I was starting to go. And it was, and I have headaches that are so bad sometimes that I told another friend, I was like, they have the headaches that make you wish for sweet, sweet death because they're just so bad. They're so, they're just, and they're connected to the gut for me. Brigid, you have an itchy nose, which means you'll get into a fight. I always have an itchy nose, which means I'm fighting with everybody. It's always about balance. Don't deny feelings, but don't get pulled into the rabbit hole. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Yes. And, yeah. Actually, my nose isn't itching, actually. But maybe I'm just doing this. It's a habit. But that is the superstition attached to it. That Melissa's right. That people will say, "Oh, if you do that, it's just kind of like, well, I was dropping knives, so I must be having company too." So, when I was washing dishes last night. So, so yeah. So anyway, no, I know you're joking. Yeah, it's so am I actually. I was just kind of like, yeah, oh yeah, I'll be fighting all the time. Bewitched, yeah. Well, I'll be, I guess, kind of. Well, that's more of the wiggling of the nose, which I don't think I can do. I don't know how to do that. Or on a flow, the magic flows. Yeah. So, anyway, so what I was saying, I was having a headache and it was really awful. And these headaches seem to be connected to my stomach, because then I get really, really nauseated as well. And I really feel like anything I do, like I'm, thankfully I didn't throw up, but really felt like it. And so after I did this reading, I had to be real careful, and I probably spent most of the afternoon just in bed. So when his messages were coming in, it was like, I'm like, all right, I have to get to these when my head is evened out. I've also been trying to finish a astrological chart for my nephew's daughter, and I was working, I'm like, I just can't do it, and I have editorial work to do for somebody. Anyway, I'll get to all that today. I'm not gonna stress about it, but last night I decided when my head finally felt better, I was like, okay, I'm going to sit down and get back to all my messages. And I got a message from somebody the other day. There's been a lot of back and forth and exchanges with people about kind of being on the edge or being in different places, right? So people, for example, who are, who are adopted, okay? You come into a family, and when you come into that family, you are, you feel like there's that sense of it's your family, but it's not your family, like it's not your biological family. And so sometimes people, depending on their experience, can feel caught between. There could be other ways that people feel caught between in society. People sometimes who are, I remember reading about the psychologist Erik Erikson and how he's I can't remember if it was mixed race or mixed religion, and not really maybe race, but maybe it's just, there was a mixture of, I don't know if it was like he, had partially Jewish elements and partially Christian elements in his family at a time when that was, when there might not have been a thing. And when that might have been like an issue for some people. And he had some other kind of a mixture as well, but he always felt like he never really, sometimes people feel like they don't really belong in either group, okay? And it was religion. What was it? Magic. Joanne said, I get that last night. I had migraine for 21 days thanks to my oh, well, yeah. That's a whole different thing. My God. And it was religion. Yeah. Okay. Oh, with Erikson. Yeah. I remember, but whatever it was just, there was this, okay. Point being, that we sometimes have different things, or even if it's not something like that, like we've talked about even within our own families, if you're the quote-unquote black sheep within your own family. Sometimes there's a sense that you feel like you are on the edge of something and that you don't belong. And we were having this kind of conversation, and I said, and it occurred to me, I was thinking about, I was thinking about Diane Purkis's book called At the Bottom of the Garden, which is about fairies and fairy lore. And, she's writing about it from, of course, more of an academic perspective. But she is also writing in a very accessible way. It's actually a very interesting book. But she talks a lot about, like the witch trials and like, I know this is gross, but brother-sister incest and stuff like that. But the way in which when certain taboos are violated, or when certain social norms are violated, or when you have somebody who's kind of not considered to be totally part of a group, that it puts them in a space, she says, that makes you almost magical. And that's what's considered to be like that's the unconscious danger of the person. Like they're not kind of being roped in by a particular community, by a particular set of norms. So it's almost like they introduce chaos into the order. But I said, that's what's interesting, because I think everybody to some degree now feels like they're not part of this. Of course, that's probably also a sign that we have an order that needs to be changed. What we had before that was considered stability doesn't work anymore. But so when you run into that, and then you have people who have a great fear of people who don't conform, and typically these are people who can become very, very strictly religious or very dogmatic or very. Then it's like the people who are kind of the mavericks become kind of feel threatening. But I also say those are the people who are the most magical. We think about that liminal space, and I think maybe that's why we talk about it a lot, is the idea of being comfortable in a space where, maybe you don't fit neatly, you may be the square peg in the round hole, and, maybe you don't need to be there, maybe you don't need to do that. That makes so much sense. Yeah. Because I feel like a lot of people who feel kind of in this place where you feel like you're not quite part of things also tend to be people who are either very magical or very spiritual, because they're people who don't necessarily have a fear of taking their own path. I mean, there may be some fear. We don't want to become totally untethered from the area that we're in. But I think when we are more tied to a system, or when it's to our benefit to remain tied to a particular system, then it's harder for people to say, well, I'm going to break out and be authentic and follow my own path. But as I've mentioned, when you, and that was the thing too, I think we were talking about, Joanne says, yeah, I'd say that defines me. I think there's a lot of people who I can identify with that. And, because one of the things, what she was talking about was, being adopted, like always fantasizing that people who were with their biological families, like there was somehow some kind of a perfection there, right? That there was something, there was some kind of, this was something great. And I said to her, no, well, actually, not necessarily so. Yeah, there seems to always be, I mean, again, to be, as I've said, to be fair to parents, it's not that there's a manual for doing this, and things can go very wrong. And you never know what you're dealing with, because you're dealing with human beings. You're not, human beings are not objects that you maintain or whatever in a certain way. I mean, you provide food, clothing, shelter, whatever, education, whatever it is for your kids. But I'd say that the stories that we tell ourselves, it's there's definitely I think we reach a point, as I've said, where if a part of our development is to figure out where we integrate into society, I think we come to a point where we say, okay, where are we going to diverge into what's our own light? What's our thing that we have to offer? And that's where the magic comes in. That's where you start creating something that hasn't been before. That you're not just simply saying, okay, I'm going along with the template and I'm doing what everybody else is doing. And again, I think there's a mixture. You are doing to a certain degree. You are in society. Obviously, you're out. You're renting, or you own a house, or you go out to the grocery store. You go out and there's things that you do that makes you part of the world. You work. You have some kind of a job, and you do something. But nonetheless, that thing that kind of puts you on the outside, like I feel like that's where your magic is. That thing that puts you on the outside. Rather than that being a liability, I feel like that's the place where you can potentially create something different. Tell ourselves, in my case, is a story of myself fed to me by your mother. Yes, by your psycho mother. Yeah, well, that's it. And I think there's a lot of people, we can get into the ways in which families, the mother archetype, what we expect from mother and family, and then, or father and family, and then what actually happens. That was a topic actually I did a Monday's live stream on Katonia, but there's definitely, I don't know. I feel like, okay, so I guess really where I'm going with this is wherever you feel marginalized, okay, that might be when we're trying to look to a new space, or we're trying to look to create something new. That may actually be the starting place. Not in the sense of you feeling like, we feel it as a wound, okay? You may feel it as a wound that, we're not accepted, or we're not part of something, or we just can't relate or don't fit in, right? And so then that's the place where you want to look and say, okay, well, and while to a certain degree, we talk about unity and, everybody's part of the universe and we're all waves in the ocean, et cetera, nonetheless, we're all kind of like the facets on the diamond. We all have an individual thing that we need to, that we have to share with people. And that's where I think when we're in that empty space and we're not sure what to create, and I feel like Pluto has a lot to do with that too. That may be the place. It's almost like that can be your place of power to a certain degree. Not in the sense of now I'm angry and hate everybody and want to get revenge on everybody who did things to me, but in the sense of, okay, I defining yourself in terms of, okay, I don't identify with this. My identity is not connected with this. So what is my authentic identity, and how do I get rid of that noise? Suda said, speaking for myself, unraveling family narratives that impact how I see myself. Yes. And Joanne says, I agree. Okay, so you guys are saying, yeah. Well, everybody, it's going to be different for everybody. Family is always going to be a part of it. Our work and workspace could be a part of it. And I always say, like, looking carefully at our workspace is important because, if you think most jobs, okay, let's just say you have a standard 35, 40-hour a week job. That's 40 hours a week, that's 8 hours a day. That's a third of your day. A third of 24 hours is 8 hours, right? That's a third of your day is spent somewhere, and if you're going to spend it in a place that you hate, like that's something to think about. I mean, if you enjoy what you're doing, and it doesn't matter. It's not like you have to be doing anything that changes the world or whatever. You could, or well, you might be changing the world in your own way, or you might be dealing with people on if you work with people there's always the potential that you're going to change people in a way, but it doesn't have to be big or small. And you don't necessarily have to be doing anything quote unquote important is what I'm saying. Everybody has something that they're doing and it all contributes. But if you're there and you feel like it doesn't fit you and you're miserable, then that's an area that you want to look at. So yeah, family, definitely. Family stuff takes ages to unravel because it's taken many generations to get there, and some of it's probably in your DNA also. And then when you talk about, and then our relationships with people and how they support us. Okay, Alex says, less focus on the negative wound aspect and more where's the strength of it. Right, exactly. How does, how they think the expression, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And again, we don't want to be always in the mode where where the old, because there's almost like a PTSD element to that too, where we're just kind of like, we can be triggered by certain traumas and things. And it's just a case of, well, where can that be the starting point to fuel the person, developing the person we really are? Joanne says, no, with me, it's more like I'm over it, tired of not meeting conditions. You just walked away. Oh, you're talking about your mom. And then she said, Alex, I like that. Yeah, well, walking away is part of it too. I mean, that's the Eight of Cups energy, right? That's the energy of no matter what it was or what it's supposed to be, sometimes even if it's a good thing. Okay, and in your case, it doesn't sound like it was, but even if it's a good thing, it's something that sometimes we do need to walk away from it. I think it's harder to walk away from the good things. I think sometimes when our energy is drained, we're like, what, it's really nice not to have our energy drained, So let's see what we've got in our cards for today. That was just the thoughts that I had this morning. And I always have to try to finish my coffee before it gets cold because, as always, I talk too much, but... So let's see, what's our reading for today? What's the message that we have? I have a couple of different things here that I'm going to pull from. I felt like feeling out the Gateway Oracle today too, so I'm going to take a look at that and see what it says. All right, so let's start with Osho Zen. Yeah. I always think it's interesting how these end up saying kind of exactly what I just said, but anyway, we'll start at the beginning. What's our center card here? Mind. I think this is a really great card that shows the conception of mind. Because what is mind? I mean, first of all, this person looks like they're built into a wall. So the mind becomes like this brick wall that we run into, right? And their head is just a whole set of gears, and it's on fire. And I think that's probably the way our mind treats most of us. I mean, we think of the mind as something that, the philosophical, but the mind is what puts us above all other animals. And, no, this is what the mind does. Okay, boom chakalaka. Exactly, Joanne. It's just, this is what the mind does. It makes us continually is a wall between us and maybe who we are and nature and life and people. And the inner feeling of which we're unaware. This is, Six of Pentacles, but this is the card of compromise. Okay? There's my head right there. Well, I think it's, I think a lot of people can identify with that. It's just, which I guess why is we're seeing all this advocacy of stillness, right? Because being still means stop, trying to back away from that, trying to get into the flow of life and away from, being ground up in the gears of the mind, which you might argue is the gears of samsara as well. That's where the suffering of life comes from. It's the mind that does a lot of this to us, Being two things at once and reconciling. Right. Exactly. Thank you, Sam. Back to this compromise card. Compromise is, I feel like that's okay, if you go back to what I just said about a social situation where you may be trying to fit into a group, you may want to be fitting in and getting your family's approval. Maybe you want your spouse's approval. Maybe you want your friend's approval, or just if you're in a school or in an office or wherever you are, where you feel like you want to be accepted into that group, okay? A lot of time, but then we also have the part of us that says, I want to do my own thing. I want to strike it out on my own. I want to go and do something different. And people may, but the thing is, the question is, do people approve of the thing that you want to do? Are they saying, oh no, that's not practical. That's not this. That's not that. That's a waste of time. That doesn't make enough money. That doesn't do this. It doesn't do that. Joanne says, I just want my own approval, tired of pleasing people. Well, see, but you're not also we're all at a stage of life where we're beyond people pleasing, I think. this is something, but it's still something that we can go through. When we run into people where we come into conflict with, because their ideas are not the same as ours, or they somehow don't approve of something that we're doing, we might say, like, well, F them, I'm going to do it anyway, which what a lot of us do. But nonetheless, I think we would rather it not be that way, right? We would rather that everybody just kind of harmoniously says, hey, live and let live, you do you, I do me, it's fine. But a lot of times that's not how it is. We meet, and sometimes it's not active resistance, sometimes it's passive resistance. And it comes out in really weird ways. Like even when I would travel certain places, I'm somebody who travels a lot of places alone. I like to go by myself. I bring my trusty book. Right, lately, I've been rereading a lot of Umberto Eco. But I've been, I go there, and if I want to stop somewhere and get something to eat, a lot of times when you go, there is the kind of, depending on where you are, there's this unconscious sense of why are you sitting there by yourself? Like, you're a woman. You're supposed to be with someone. You're supposed to be with your friends. You're supposed to be with a boyfriend. You're supposed to be, or a husband, or somebody you're supposed to be tethered to in some way. And I'm like, no, and that's a very simple thing. But you run into that. When you go, I noticed there's a difference. Like if I go to a place with friends, or if I go by myself, there's a big difference in how sometimes I'm received depending on the place. So anyway, it's that's a subtle thing. Joanne says, me too. I've gone so many places alone. My sister says I'm weird. But see, it's not weird. That's just it. Why do women need to have a babysitter? That's my thing. Why do you need to have a babysitter? If you want to go do something, I've been walked into places to get breakfast and stuff and seen plenty of men sitting at the counter with a book. That's okay, right? But if a woman does it, it's just kind of like, why are you doing that? Anyway, back to the idea of compromise. The idea is that sometimes we say, yes, I want to do this new thing, but I've just got to make sure that, in other words, you make sure that either you've got the approval of the other side, or it's just kind of like, well, I'll do this thing I don't want to do, but I'm going to compromise and maybe do what I want to do a little bit. Like, we kind of try to do it halfway because we're still trying to please the social order. And really the point that you want to get to is saying, it's not that we want to be antisocial, right? You're not like out there, again, the idea that we want to focus on love, not on division. But at the same time, we just have to do what we want to do, and we can't worry about the people who aren't interested in what we're doing. And so this means, as externally we are aware, we have turning in. Now stop listening to all those voices. Stop listening to those people around you who are, these phantom voices, which are really phantom voices. They're just, and sometimes they're not even really, okay, sometimes people may not even necessarily be disapproving of what we do, but if we internally have that part of us that feels like, oh, maybe people aren't going to like this, we may project it and think that that's what other people think about us. If you really ask them, they might be like, oh, no, it's cool, do what you want, But we may assume that other people are not going to approve of us or what we choose to do. So there's that too. So yeah, it's really kind of a phantom voice. But even if you have people who go, oh, that's weird, I wouldn't do that, well, then don't do it. Nobody's asking you to do it. I'm doing my thing. So yeah, and now we're back to the no-thingness card, right? We're back to that blank slate. And no-thingness, okay, there's always a different aspect of it every time I pick up this card, because this is the Hierophant card. Because it reminds me that ultimately, again, there's kind of, this is like a blank slate. It's like or a blank canvas. There's a lot of possibility here. We don't need to we don't need this to limit what our possibilities are. Okay? We don't need to do this because, well, our idea of balance is trying to say, oh, well, I have to balance social approval against this. A lot of times we make these compromises, and it's like, to truly be who you are, you should not, and unconsciously, this is what we're doing. And it's not an uncommon thing to happen, actually, when you're moving when you're transiting to a new space. When you're about to move and, you're not doing things the same way, it can leave us very uneasy. And it's like, okay, I want to be in the space where I'm comfortable. You know what? There's things I don't like about this, but I know how to manage this person. I know how to manage this situation. So, that's more comfortable for me right now. And, maybe I'll get to do the new thing later. Those are the ways in which we compromise. And again, I'm not saying that we all have to rip away the fabric of our security, but do recognize that the new space is like a blank canvas, and that really, in no-thingness, kind of everything that we think is, really isn't. There's no thing, right? It's just, a lot of it is just, I was, again, watching Alan Watts yesterday, and he was saying that a lot of the things that we think that we are don't actually exist. It's an idea that we have. It's an idea that the mind gives us about who we are. And our outcome card is courage. Here we go again, right? So it's really funny. So we've got the wall image here, and where is this taking us to? Like coming out of that wall, the flower growing out of the wall, right? You know, here's all the gears, here's everything on fire, which kind of have this new growth that comes out of here, right? Something that's still able to grow in spite of this. So I'm shielding myself from others' projections. Well, yeah, and you know what? Sometimes we need to do that until we're in a space where we feel comfortable. And it's going to vary. It's not just going to be like, oh, okay, I'm going to, like we said, there's no step A, B, C, and now it's step C. I'm going to be completely confident in myself all the time and never be bothered by anything anybody says. I always feel like that's why it's kind of a loop process. It's like you go around and around. It's like, okay, we do this time. I have a lot of anxiety about this. The next time I go around, maybe a little less. The next time I go around, maybe a little less than that. And eventually you may find, if you look back, you go, wow, I'm far less stressed about this than I was when I went through this 10 years ago or whatever. You eventually reach a point, because sometimes just going through it, as we have different experiences of it, because our mind likes to work in the area of causality, it likes to do cause and effect, because we say, oh, if I do A, then B is going to happen, right? So that's where a lot of our anxiety comes in, because we have this memory of it, and we go, oh, well, you know. And but the reality is, and you know, that's the no-thingness. It's a blank slate. It's like isn't necessarily the case. So yeah, it's interesting. Ooh, oh my goodness. All right, so 2 cards popped out for us here. I couldn't get any to pop out before, so obviously there's a message here. All right, so we got 2 cards. The first one, I like to read these because Revealing Radiance is the first one. Okay, Revealing Radiance. And the little thing is that my light illuminates the world. Now let's read to you what the little book says. It says, the universe wants you to know, even if you've been feeling lackluster lately, know there's a vibrant, shimmering light radiating within you. Take time to be still and welcome the light revealing itself to you. Own your own radiance, and the rays will expand into the farthest reaches of time and space. When you shine brightly from the heart, the bounty of the universe showers you with blessings. You are that light. Okay, so it's beautiful. Yes. And the second one, you'll love this one. Expecting miracles. Expecting miracles. Okay, so let's read what that says. Okay. The universe wants you to know what is expected tends to be realized. We were starting with this live stream with expect miracles in your life. Celebrate and cherish them when they appear, no matter how small they may seem. Let go of fear and expectation. Allow creator, whatever you think of as the creator, to solve your challenges in mysterious and wondrous ways. Don't limit the ways, what I just said, in which you think miracles can appear in your life. Know that you can be the miracle in the life of another. So there you go. And I feel like that resonates with all of the messages that you guys have been getting and that I got this morning from Vassaria. And then, and then this, there's this feeling here that, and it jives with this reading too, and kind of what the topic was of today. Like you have your own magic. Like rather than looking at it as this is a limitation, maybe that's the way I want to say it. It's not so much that your wound is a limitation. It may actually be what fuels the person you want to be. You know what I mean? There may be a space out of that. And that's why I always feel it's good to start creatively. Even if we start, just by way of example, when I write stories, I mean, I may start from the point of view of somebody who is very wounded and expressing that wound. Okay? But after you've expressed it, it's kind of like, okay, it's had its voice. It's been expressed. You know, so it's something that we can talk about as an experience, but it has less and less of an impact on us the more that we have had a chance, when we don't keep it bottled up, you know, when we're able not, you don't have to keep it to ourselves. Let's see, I did pull an essential oil card too, and it's the clove oil. The key word here is presence, and the trigger statement is, why did this happen to me? The true statement is, how did this happen for me? Know that you are the star of your life, you are the lead, and the audience is here for you. Okay, so that's just it. Not why did it happen to me, it's how did this happen for me? Like how does that become an opportunity for something? And again, that's not always easy to see. I mean, I always feel, sometimes again, the parlance of something of seeing your challenges as opportunities, sometimes I always feel like, yeah, well, some challenges that people are facing, they're not going to see it that way. They're just going to be like, especially if they've been through something really horrible and really traumatic, to say that to somebody sounds very, sounds like a lot of bypassing, right? And I don't want, that's not how I mean it. I just say, okay, the point of healing from something like that is to say, first of all, that's why I always say, express how you really feel. Don't be like, oh, well, it's not nice of me to think this way, but this is how I think. No, that's how you think. And that needs to kind of come to the surface before you can work with it or do anything with it, Ooh, Clove, love it. Ask myself that in the face of crazy change. Yeah, right. How does this work for us? And sometimes the mind doesn't always tell us. Sometimes it's got to be something more that we go into one thing and we run into an obstacle here, but then we turn this way and then there's a new opportunity there. So sometimes it's just something that happens to us. Alex says, I think to see it as opportunity is a hindsight thing most of the time. When we're in it, we can't see the power of it until that comes from later on. Well, sure, the hindsight's 20/20 thing, right? A lot of times it's very hard for us to see in the moment, especially if we have very, very strong emotions, which is why I always say the emotions are what you have to work through first and say, okay, this is the feeling that I have. And if we are, trying to heal things from the heart space, right? We have to, like those of you who've had Rahani know, it's like you may have these moments that come up that feel very uncomfortable, but then it's like almost like they're released. Because it's like it's like there's a poison in the system, and that poison's kind of being drained out, right? And it's there because and this happens to everybody. This happens to every human being. We all have a wound of some kind, and even people who have apparently perfect lives have a wound somewhere. It actually would be kind of terrifying to have no wounds, because then I don't know what kind of a life that is. It's like it's kind of weird. I don't know how you live that kind of a life, but. Anyway, yeah, so lots to think about today, but yeah, there's this idea, and again, I feel like there's a lot of people who are like, yeah, I'm not in the mood to hear about, focusing on love instead of the other, because I'm still like ticked off about stuff, but it's saying that, but what she's saying is that focusing on the other may actually be giving more strength to that you don't want to give strength to. Thanks so much. Okay, yep, absolutely. Thank you. Have a lovely day. Stay warm in the chilly weather. Thank you. Yes, and yeah, and reach out to me, Joanne, and yeah, Sam might sent you a message too. So, yeah, hopefully I'll touch base with all you guys today, and I hope you have a wonderful Friday. Yeah, it's Friday, yay. So if you're working, hopefully weekend off, and some of you in the Dream Workshop tomorrow, get in touch with me if you want to go and register for that and haven't, and perfect. Yes, Melissa. And yeah, don't forget, Melissa and I are doing something next Sunday at her place in Chester. We've got it on both of our profiles, and I'll probably mention it again. So, yeah, have a wonderful Friday, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.